Conspiracy theorists are commonly seen as fundamentally irrational, with an all-encompassing obsession. But new research suggests they may have quite different motivations, beliefs and attitudes. Write Colin Klein, Peter Clatton and Vince Polito. By Colin Klein, Peter Clatton and Vince Polito. Millions of Christians will gather this Easter weekend to worship a savior who bears little resemblance to the man executed millennia ago. It's an issue, given the importance of having diverse role models in modern society, writes Robin J. Whitaker. By Robin J. Whitaker. Porn star Stormy Daniels seems to be the one person in the US president's orbit who is untouchable. Here's what he stands to lose if he so much as mentions her name, writes Micheline Maynard. By Micheline Maynard. When Cricket Australia handed down the penalties for its ball tampering trio, the rationale for the heavy penalties against Steve Smith, David Warner and Cameron Bancroft became clear, writes Jeff Lemon. Jeff Lemon. In Johannesburg, Kim Jong-un's meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing sends a powerful message to the US that regional ties run deep, writes Stan Grant. By Matter of Fact host Stan Grant. The International Cricket Council, in its failure to crack down on numerous documented incidents of ball tampering over several decades, has lowered standards on field, and this is the clash that had to come. By Mary Gearin. There's a general perception that it's near impossible to get a ticket to an AFL match at the new Perth Stadium, but footy attendance figures are down and that myth needs to be put to bed, writes Clint Thomas. By Clint Thomas. Before this senseless, inexplicable act of self-harm, Steve Smith's career was building as potentially one of the greatest in the game. By Steve Wilson. When he decided it was his turn to speak, Grigory Logvinov just stood with the press for an hour. It was a triumph of obfuscation, and you could almost hear stifled snorts of disbelief in the room, writes Stephen Jadzich. By political reporter Stephen Jadzich. Our cricketers are prime examples of economic man, paid millions of dollars. They are guns for hire to the highest bidder, men who play for Australia but represent themselves, writes Stan Grant. By Matter of Fact host Stan Grant. All of a sudden Wall Street's digital darlings are looking a bit shabbier, dropping around $32 billion in a couple of days. So is it a necessary correction, or something far nastier? By business reporter Stephen Letts. All that anyone who loves cricket wants is a fast response to the ball tampering saga, but James Sutherland has left many questions unanswered, writes Jeff Lemon. By Jeff Lemon. In Johannesburg, private health insurance premiums will rise from April 1st, leaving consumers wondering if they should give it up or downgrade to save money, writes Sophie Lewis and Karen Willis. By Sophie Lewis and Karen Willis. Those in charge of Tasmanian cricket made some tough calls in order to fix a losing culture, and it's something Cricket Australia can learn from. By Chris Rowbottom. The Marshall government's undertaking to raise the payroll tax threshold is a sensible step other states should follow to increase wages and improve Australia's growth rate, writes David Van Gogh. By David Van Gogh. Urging women who have survived domestic abuse to abandon their religion leaves them more isolated and unsafe. By Julia Baird and Hayley Gleason. It's a measure of Bill Shorten's inestimable confidence and Malcolm Turnbull's perceived political ill health that Labour should dare promise a repeal of company tax cuts that have not yet been passed. By political editor Andrew Probyn. After Donald Trump's announcement of up to $60 billion in tariffs, China said it was preparing retaliatory tariffs. Yet there is reason to believe this is not a battle China wants to fight. By King Shanding. When Takata airbags were recalled, the manufacturers were able to tell motorists the make, model and year of the cars with the faulty safety device. But it's a different matter when there's a fault in spare parts for humans. By National Medical reporter Sophie Scott and Alison Branley. Facebook is not impenetrable. It has to face pressure from regulators, advertisers and users ready to log off. By technology reporter Ariel Bogle.